Today we'll be traveling from Vilnius in Lithuania to Warsaw in Poland. This is not on a direct train, but it's a very good official connection. We take a train from Vilnius to the border with Poland, from where on we'll be traveling further on board of a Polish intercity train. This train is heading for Krakow, but we won't take it all the way though. And we have some great food along the way during this trip. Join me on this railway adventure from Vilnius in Lithuania to Russia. This train continues to Krakow though, I won't be taking it all the way. For now, let's get this video on the track and let's roll the intro. Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania. We arrived here by train from Riga in Latvia. And we spent some nice days here. Even though at the moment we were here, we didn't travel at the best season of the year to go here. We had some really nice time here. To get around in the city center of Vilnius, it's very doable by foot, but you do find lots of buses as well. And they do operate pretty frequent. Some trolley buses and also regular buses. And for the trolley buses, you do find some very old school buses, however most buses are more modern buses. Something I really liked was the artwork, the portal at the front of the railway station in Vilnius. It's basically a live connection with another city. It's really cool, but it wasn't that cool on camera though. Around the railway station you find lots of bus stops. Most of these bus stops are for city buses, but if you move a little bit more to the side of the railway station, there is a big bus station for international and also domestic long distance buses. The bus is a very common way of transportation within these countries, although the train is, getting more and more popular as well. You do find quite a lot of bus companies over here, and the bus station actually looks rather nice. It's not that I feel like, this is a wow station, but it's more nice in terms of facilities. There are quite a lot of shops. And if we move a little bit more to the other side, there is a central waiting area, lots of screens with information about departing buses, and also quite some ticket counters for buses. This looks pretty well organized, to be honest. And when it comes to international connections, I think the bus is pretty obvious from and to these countries. Might be worth a video in the future maybe. I don't know. Would you like to see that? Let me know in the comments. I already had some buses, but I might do this a bit more in the future. Anyway, I think you get it for the bus station. But with so many long distance and international buses, I really think it's worth mentioning the bus station. For now, let's move out of the bus station for long distance buses and go to the railway station again. Well, you obviously find lots of bus stops around for the regional buses. I mean, very regional, so basically the city buses. Over here we have the portal again, the artwork that I really like. And actually, now it was connected to another city, I think somewhere in America. For now, let's head into the railway station building, and the building is actually quite nice. I've been here before, I think more than 10 years ago, and I can tell you from what I saw back then and what I see right now that there have been a lot of improvements. Lithuania is really making a lot of progress when it comes to the railway, but I think in many fields. At the moment we were making this journey, it was around the shortest days of the year. And you could see that on the Christmas decoration over here. At the moment you enter the main concourse, you find a waiting area and there's a big screen with information about departing trains. If we move to the side over here, you find lockers, and there are quite a lot of them. So if you want to drop your luggage here before you go to the train, or if you can't go into your hotel yet, this is absolutely perfect. And you find lots of sizes when it comes to this. Now let's move on to the other side of the station. There are some standing spots where you also find power sockets, some vending machines here on the left, and if we move on a little bit more, you find a rather big supermarket. Right next to the supermarket there are some more waiting areas, including these clocks with international times. what I don't really understand, because there are going trains from and to here. Let's pretend like before the whole war situation and before COVID, you will find trains to Moscow that still passes through this railway station, by the way, and you find trains to Warsaw in Poland. So yeah, why not showing the time zone of those two areas? That makes more sense, right? Anyway, right here we are back at the middle of the main concourse again. There is a ticket counter as well as basically an information point. The LTG Link website is actually really easy to use. There's also something like a first class lounge over here, but we were traveling in second class, so I didn't went in there. Now let's move on to the tracks. And you can see this platform here that's located between fences. Actually, it's quite well protected. And this here is for international trains. From and to the main concourse you do find an underground passage, and this is basically divided over two passages. One here on the left, at least the left from where I'm walking, that was closed. And then this passage over here. The one on the left is for international passengers, and basically you can have custom formalities at this railway station. Trains to the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad still pass through this railway station, and before the whole war in Ukraine situation, these trains also made a stop over here. And basically, if those trains will start operating again like normal and make a stop over here where people can go in and out, now the train makes a stop and people stay within the train, then the entire custom formalities can take place here as well. So basically what we're looking at is the outside border of both the EU and the Schengen area. Now let's head back from the underground passage to the main concourse again. There was some construction works over here when I was making this video. Back at the main concourse again, I saw something that drew my attention. It was something that was saying museum this way. And what I haven't mentioned yet, you will also find vending machines where you can buy tickets, and staff is there to help you. Let also be no surprise that there are lots of places where you can grab some food and drinks for your train journey. At platform 1 where we also arrived, I noticed this art exhibition right next to the kind of ad for the Vilnius Riga train. And something you find here are swings. How cool is that? Swing here at Vilnius Railway Station. I like it. I hope you like this video as well. If you do so, or if it's a helpful video to you, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. If you'd like to see more trip reports about more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is long distance and or international traveling, then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. Questions, feedback, comments, let me know in the comment section. And for now, let's continue with this video. A bit further down to platform 1, you find this great giant right next to what I think is a music venue, and actually looked really nice. But there's something that caught my eye when I was at the main concourse, and I'm heading there right now. Because something was saying, like, railway museum. And I went there for obvious reasons. And at the back of the station there is indeed something like a railway museum, and this had been done actually really nice. You can just go here. I think this is just free accessible, but I can also imagine that in the high season, or if it's busy in general, they might ask a little fee to go here. Over here you could see some older railway carriages. And the seesaw here on the left is really cool as well. This is a little kid train, but I don't think you can go far on this train. I sneaked in one of the carriages, and these are typical Soviet sleeping carriages. I stayed in one of them in one of my first videos actually, from Russia to Kazakhstan. And then there was this dining car. I think this dining car is actually really cool. Well, this time I only traveled on one train type within Lithuania. However, I don't know if there are still true dining cars over here. If you know this, let me know in the comments. I mean, there are some rather long distances here every now and then. At the moment I was here, there were some ice sculptures as well, but the temperatures were not like what they should be at this time of the year, so they were basically melting. I really like this kind of railway museum, although I have some doubts about how good it is for the trains to just let them stand outside. I mean, it's also nice that you keep this bit of railway history alive as well, although trains are also designed to be outside. What I haven't mentioned yet, Signage throughout the railway station is very clear. This is with the use of icons, and everything what is written in text is also in English. Even though I purchased my ticket as one ticket from Vilnius to Warsaw in Poland, today's journey will be on 2 trains. Simply because the width of the tracks is different within Lithuania. This is built on broader gauge Russian tracks. And in Poland it's like in Western Europe. I'll get back to that a little bit later on in the video. Anyway, the first leg of our journey will be on board of this train, what is a Pisa 730 ML. This specific train was in the Connecting Europe livery, but you can also expect this specific train on the route between Riga and Vilnius, for example. These are diesel-powered trains that do have a capacity of 150 passengers, what is not a lot. However, the comfort level is really good for these trains. You can find these trains on the semi-international and international routes, so between Vilnius and Riga, on the Riga connecting on the train to Warsaw and Krakow in Poland, and also on domestic routes between Vilnius and Klaipėda, what is, as far as I know, the longest domestic route within Lithuania. Now let's take a close look on the map for today's route. We'll be traveling from Vilnius to Kaunas, the second city of Lithuania. From there on, we'll be going towards the border to the town of Moscava. There we hop on a Polish train that will bring us first to Suwalki, where we switch direction and also change the engine to the other part of the train, and then to Bialystok, if I pronounce it right, and from where on we'll be having an electric locomotive that will bring us to Warsaw, the capital of Poland, and also the place where we leave the train. However, our train continues to Krakow. The section Bialystok Krakow is relatively fast, and before that it depends a little bit on the segment. I'll tell you a bit more about that later on in the video. For the first train, a reservation is not possible. You can just hop on and take any seat within the train in standard class, or I should say second class. And for the first train I won't do an in-depth train review. You can check out the video I've made on the route from Riga to Vilnius, where I show you more of this train. However, what I can tell you, these trains are really comfortable. I like these trains. There's no dining car on board of these trains, however there is something like a catering service available. For luggage there are obviously lots of spots available to put your luggage in. I mean, these are long distance trains. When we made this journey it was around the holidays. And therefore the middle carriage was decorated very well. I mean, they did a great job on this. Before I show you the views from the train until the border at least, let me show you a map of Europe that is basically showing the track gauges of the mainline trains. Especially in mountain areas, like in the Alps and in the north of Spain for example, you do also find lots of narrow gauge railway lines. And narrow gauge railway lines are also the standard in, for example, Japan and Taiwan. And basically everything that is considered as narrow gauge is everything that's smaller or less wide than 1435 millimeters, and everything that's wider is considered as broad gauge. Some countries have different track gauges, like for example Ireland. It's not connected to any other railway lines as well, so that makes sense really. Also, Spain has different track gauges. They actually have several track gauges. Narrow gauge in the north, then you will find the Iberian gauge for most of the lines, and then most high-speed lines or standard gauge tracks. This comes with some challenges, and let's take Spain for this example, because you do find quite a lot of trains in Spain that are able to change the width of the wheels within a matter of minutes. However, you need special trains and special points where you can change the width of the wheels. And you probably heard already sometimes people who traveled from one country to another country, where the entire train was lifted up to put new wheels under the train. That is not needed with that special technique like you find in Spain. Also in Switzerland they have on one specific line another technique for trains that are able to change the width of the tracks between narrow gauge lines and standard gauge lines. That's a different technique. That technique might also be interesting for countries like, for example, Japan and Taiwan, where the mainline trains are on narrow gauge lines and the high-speed lines are on standard gauge tracks. But that's off topic for now. To include the Baltic states more into Europe, the European Union and also the Baltic states are launching Rail Baltica. This is a higher speed railway line connecting the 3 Baltic states with Western Europe. Well, there's a whole lot of debates going on about this project and I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I'm not here to say what's better or what's less good. However, what is something you should take in consideration is that the 3 Baltic states are not very dense populated. It's quite empty actually. So I think you can ask yourself if it's worth to build a high-speed line, or to upgrade some tracks and then later on maybe build high-speed sections. What I fully do understand though is the need to build standard gauge tracks within the Baltic states so trains can run easily from, for example, Berlin to Tallinn. And some branches can definitely be totally built new and be high-speed lines, no doubt about that. Right now the train is a little bit north from Kaunas, the second city of Lithuania. Over here you do find different track gauges coming together because the standard European gauge tracks will go until here, or they start here, just how you look at it. So basically 2 different railway systems are coming together and there's a big freight yard for trains. So containers on board of trains can be moved from trains that are on the Russian gauge track trains to the standard gauge track trains, or the other way around. Normally these facilities are located at the border, but it's nice to see it here within a city actually. The biggest of these types of facilities that I ever noticed was on the Kazakh and Chinese border. That was absolutely huge. There's a lot of freight from China moving to Europe and other Asian countries as well, via Kazakhstan and Russia. That was one of my first videos ever that I recorded, well I won't dig in that. Anyway, from just above Kaunas, where the train is arriving right now, there will be 2 different track gauges. This here is the second city of Lithuania. After Kaunas, we basically follow the railway line that is heading to Kaliningrad, the Russian enclave that is located between Poland and Lithuania. And from here on, our railroad line will be accompanied by a standard gauge railroad line. What is a single track, by the way, where our Russian gauge railroad line is double track. Over here you can see the railroad lines, and as you can maybe see already from the video, one is wider than the other. Well, I honestly don't know what's best, but I personally feel like you can also make a double gauge railroad line. So you don't need to build an extra railroad line and you don't need the extra space. And they did this on some parts actually. Actually, this picture here is showing exactly what I mean. You can have this way more efficient, and I think also with less big investments you can build both width of the tracks. Of course this also comes with some downsides, I know this, for example how close is the train next to the platform and all those things. But personally I think this is the best midway solution for the whole Rail Baltica project. After the railway station of Karlsruhe, our train is heading to a different direction. We'll be heading on the railroad line towards the border with Poland. And the speeds will be way slower from this moment on. The maximum speed between Kaunas and Vilnius is around 140 or 120 km per hour depending on what segment of the route you're traveling. After Kaunas, this is between 100 and 120 km per hour, and on this section of the route it's only 80 km per hour. However, shortly before the border, this will be 100 km per hour. The train makes one other stop here as well, at the station of Mariupol. And basically our train that we take now is the only passenger train that doesn't terminate here, at least at this moment. This might change in the not too far away future. We are still being accompanied by the standard gauge railroad line, But shortly before the border, our Standard Gauge railway line and our Russian Gauge railway line will become a double track railway line, like the picture I showed you a little bit earlier. Just before the border, there are some bigger spots as well to move cargo around. Although the facility at the railway station near Kaunas was obviously way bigger. However, over here I noticed that some freight carriages were being lifted up and they put new wheels under the carriages. You can see it in a bit. Over here in this picture you see some wheels being lifted up and one carriage is at the back of a truck. If we get closer to the last station of Lithuania, what is Moscava if I pronounce it right, I saw these Soviet engines. Actually they're kind of cool, aren't they? In a way they bring back some memories of my train rides from Europe to China. The railway station of Moscava, what is at the border, is not very big. It's a small settlement as well. And it's basically only meant to swap between these two different trains. Although even though it's a small settlement, it's nice that there's a direct train. However, I don't think a lot of passengers will book train tickets from or to here. This is our next train standing at the platform. It just arrived here and will go back to Poland again. The train left very early in the morning from Krakow in Poland and went via Warsaw, Bialystok and Suwalki to this point. Honestly, I think if they start the train in Warsaw, they can also let the Polish train run until Kaunas. The Polish train is a locomotive halt train, so basically carriages and a locomotive at the front. What is fine, and actually I like this, but there are also some downsides when it comes to this. Like our Lithuanian train, what is by the way made in Poland, can just go back. The driver goes to the other side of the train and it drives it back to Vilnius again. Where for our Polish train, if it needs to swap direction, the engine needs to be detached from the train, needs to move to the other side of the train, needs to be attached to the train again, and then it can start moving. That's a lot of work actually. And I'll get back to this a little bit later on in the video, but I really think that this really makes the travel time unnecessarily long. For now, let's take a close look at the exterior of our train. This here is the first class carriage. Apart from the number 1, there's an extra yellow stripe above the windows that indicates that this is the first class carriage. Then my favorite part of the train, the dining car. This has been marked crystal clear as well, and this is only a dining car, nothing else here, so it's rather big. Then you will find the second class carriages. They have been marked with the number 2 at the side, and in Poland there's an extra green stripe above these carriages, at least on most intercities I noticed. At the side there are digital displays that will host the train number, the final destination, the stops along the way, and also the carriage number. You find this both with digital displays and also with old-fashioned displays at the doors of the windows. Long-distance trains in Poland do come including a seat reservation. Also, if you're traveling with the use of Interrail or Eurail, you're obligated to make a seat reservation. I'll get back about the ticketing point at the end of the video. Well, for the rest, there are mainly second class carriages on board this train, and basically you can only book second class. However, there is a trick how you can book first class tickets for this entire route. Once again, I will explain this at the end of the video. The railway station of Moscava is basically just a platform where you can switch between the tracks, and there is also something like a station building, but honestly I don't think there's much around here. And even then, free Wi-Fi is available at the station. What I personally always really enjoy are the views from the back of the train if you have a locomotive halt train. The speed up until the railway station of Suwalki is extremely slow. It's a maximum of 60 km per hour. Although the section within Lithuania is 100 km per hour, but that's not a long part of the journey. At the moment we move out of Moscava and head into Poland, I'll start off by showing you the train. And even though you most likely travel on second class on this train as well, because if you book one through ticket you can only book this in second class. And also simply second class has more capacity. I'll start off by showing you the first class on board of this train. The beginning of the journey is a bit quiet, so it's a bit easier to film. This here is the first class that in this situation only comes in compartments as well. And I'm not a big fan of compartments, to be honest. I prefer the open carriages. So in this train I really prefer second class. Unless I'm traveling with 6 people, because if I have all the seats with to me and my travel companions it's a different story, obviously. And this is basically the same as the compartments I showed you in the second class. Find a button for the lights, a small light, medium and a bit higher. Control for the announcements, and over here you can control the temperature. Also this is air conditioned. You find curtains here as well and a door. You can open and close. Close it for now. I mean, it's pretty quiet, but still if other people pass by it's a bit easier to film. And you do definitely have way more leg room over here. That's really a big difference. I haven't shown you that in the compartment in the second class. We can recline the seats as well. You find a handle there below the seats. And if I put them down, then it's actually pretty comfortable. If you don't recline these seats, I think it's not bad, but for a first class product I personally would expect a bit more comfortable seats. Of course you find storage for luggage as well. The overhead luggage racks, there's also some space below the seat. I think it's slightly more here, but because it's harder to see your luggage as well, you put it under the seats over here. I prefer to use the overhead luggage racks. Let me put the seat back again. And of course you also find the armrests, and all seats do have a power socket. Also with this train's kind of cup holder tables. And at the side is obviously another table as well. Right below that, a small litter bin. For the window you find a sunscreen. This is not a sunscreen, this is literally almost fading out the light out. That's a different story. Might be better if you sleep on if you have a long journey at night, then this might be actually quite okay on these trains. Might make you sleep a little bit better. And of course you also find the privacy curtains next to the aisle. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but a reading light is here as well. Basically the same as in the second class compartments. For now let's continue with the rest of this train. Now I'll get back to the second class compartments a little bit later on. During this trip we had several open carriages, so basically one big carriage without compartments and all seats are within the carriage. They were all a little bit different though. Most seats do come in an airline style composition. This here is the accessible area, and at this part of the train you will also find the accessible toilet. I'll show you in a bit. Within the open carriages there are screens that will host route information and also basic LED screens that will host route information. Then there were also the second class carriages that had the compartments. I'll get back to that a little bit later on in the video. In the great picture, the compartments in second class are basically the same as in first class, however you have less leg room. What is quite important, especially if you're quite a tall boy like me. I just sneaked in one of the regular toilets on board of this train, but I will show you this better in a bit. Now we're back in the carriage that has also the accessible area. If you're traveling in a wheelchair, you need to ask for assistance because there's no level boarding on board of these trains. Obviously, right next to the accessible area, you find the accessible toilet, and this is a bigger toilet as well. If you're traveling with a little baby, you can also use this as a diaper changing facility. Well, this is the bigger accessible toilet. For now, let's move on. And let's go to the carriage where we were sitting in as well. That was over here. When we made this journey it wasn't too busy though. However, keep in mind if you travel along this route, a seat reservation is obligated. So full is full. Especially in the summertime, these trains can be really popular. Within the carriage there's one power socket. per 2 seats. And the luggage racks are rather spacious as well. Apart from that, you find dedicated luggage racks at the end of the compartments. This seat here is rather interesting, although the window view is not that great. And there's quite a lot of spots for bikes. If you're traveling with a bike on board of these trains, as far as I know, a reservation is obligated. And for the part within Lithuania, I don't think that there's that much capacity, so I don't know, you need to do this research yourself. Then there was this other open carriage in second class that only had the airline style seats. I personally really prefer this. Now let me give you a seat tour in one of the open carriages. I can recline these seats, and if I recline them I still have an okayish amount of legroom, even though it might look tighter than it is. It's really laid backwards, and actually I liked it, as I show you here. There are power sockets between the seats, and you find a small table in the seat in front of you you can fold out. It's really sturdy actually, and that's more important than the size. Then you find a tiny litter bin between the seats. It's really small. Integrated within the luggage racks you find reading lights, and also over here you find sunscreens that really block out all the light. The carriages we had were all a little bit different, but this is more or less how the regular toilets look on board of these trains. At the doors you will find old-fashioned train numbers and also route information, and it's also written digital at the doors itself. And this is my favorite part of the train. What is the dining car? And especially on long journeys I really love this. And dining cars for Polish trains are actually really good. We really enjoyed some nice food over here, some Polish dumplings, soup, and of course some beer. The selection of food is actually quite nice, and prices are relatively affordable as well. It's possible to pay by card, but I generally advise you to always have some cash money with you as well. Although we didn't do that in Poland at all. For now, let's move on to the compartments you can find within the second class. Let me give you a tour of the 6 people compartments in second class. You find the seat numbers right over there, and also at the beginning of the compartment, and the seat numbers are basically the compartment number, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me start over here. Of course you find the door. There are some curtains as well for some privacy. I don't know, I want to use it, and apart from that you have the lower window, so real privacy is not really given. But over here you find a screen. I think it should host some route information about destination, where we go to, etc. It's not working at this moment. You can get presents, but maybe this will be all functioning later on during the trip. You can see where the toilets are, well, in both directions, and here you can control the light. Well, for the smaller light, brightest and medium. For the filming I just put it on this. Over here you can control the temperature volume, and over here the announcement volume. I put it a bit more down because I was recording before and they were doing an announcement. But yeah, that's that. For luggage you obviously find the overhead luggage racks over here. There's some coatings right below that. And all seats do have a small reading light. It's right over here. Let me turn it off. In terms of legroom, I mean, I'm not a big fan of compartments. Especially if you're traveling with some people you don't know, then I think I really prefer the open carriages. But if you're traveling with 6 people you know, then I really think this is nice. But in terms of legroom, it's actually quite good. If I recline the seats, it's actually quite comfortable, to be honest. But if someone would sit here with the same length as I have, and this person would also recline the seats, then there's not a lot of space left anymore, and in that sense it's not really my favorite train. But as you can see, it's quite comfy, especially if you recline these seats. Let me put this back again. And you can use the small handle, the red handle, right below the seats. You find armrests as well, and there's a small table integrated in these armrests as well. Cup holder thing. You don't really have a big table over here, but you do find power sockets at all seats. Let me put it back. At the side there's a smaller table and a little bin for luggage. You can use the space below the seats as well, although I would not recommend that if you have smaller items because it's easy to lose. You don't really have a good overview of that, but there is some space for luggage over there as well. Yeah, I don't know what else I should mention about these compartments. They're the classical 6-people compartments you can find on European trains. I like them, but I also don't like them. I prefer to travel in the open compartments myself once again, but that's a very personal choice. For now, let's continue with this train tour. I know what I forgot. You find sunscreens as well, and this is not just a sunscreen, it's really filtering out basically all the light. Almost feels like it's suitable for a sleeper train in a way. If I would be on a sleeper train in a seating compartment, then I think this is not even that bad, although I really prefer to lay down, so I have to do sheds or the sleeping compartments. Yeah, for now let's continue with this train tour. And honestly, the train tour, I think I told you quite a lot already about this train. When I was filming, we were traveling along the first part, and before I knew it, we had our first stop in Poland. It's a small station, and right after that our train will continue to the city of Suwalki, named after the famous Suwalki Gap. If you don't know what that is, just Google it yourself. Suwalki is a city that has a population of around 70,000 people. And the train stands still for quite a long time over here. For about half an hour to be exactly. The engine of the train will be detached and will be moved to the other side of the train and will get out of this station in the other direction. This really takes a lot of time, and therefore I have my doubts if these train types are the best train type along this route, even though I really like these trains we have on this route. But if you have a diesel multiple unit, you can basically just walk to the other side of the station and just drive out. On the other hand, we also had some extra time, like if there is a potential delay, we can catch it up over here. And because we had some time to kill here, I could discover the railway station a bit. What wasn't that special, to be honest. Especially for a city of around 70,000. Well, you're really in the Polish countryside here. You're not in a big city, and you're basically kind of at the end of the country. And while we were waiting at the station, it also got dark. So let it be no surprise that in terms of views from the train, I didn't record that much. Between Suwalki and Bialystok, the train hit up speeds of a maximum of 120 km per hour. But you really feel that it's way faster than the first section on board of this train. The train makes some more stops along the way in some smaller towns, before we arrive at the railway station of Bialystok. From here on, the railway line will be electrified, and we also get another engine for the same reason. At the railway station of Bialystok, our train stands still for 40 minutes. What's quite long actually. However, this gave me some time to wander around a little bit and to quickly discover the railway station as well. And this station is actually rather nice. Bialystok is a rather big city with a population of almost 300,000 people. And it's also quite an important junction station. As far as I know, from and to here you also find sleeper trains. Within the station there are quite some shops, but obviously we have the dining car, so I don't need to go here. And while I was recording a bit at the station, our train had the new engine that will take the train all the way to Krakow. Although we won't be traveling all the way to Krakow though during this video. After leaving Bialystok, the average speed is way faster than during this entire ride in general. Even though we are not on board of a high-speed train and there will still be some stops along the way, the train hits regularly 160 km per hour. Quite a lot of people also took this train for sections of the route. Actually, the section between Bialystok and Warsaw is a part of the Rail Baltica project that is finished. For now, let me tell you something about ticket fares. You can book these tickets basically via two websites. You can book it via LTG Link, where I also purchased my tickets, or via the website of PKP Intercity, what is the Polish website. The websites do pop up on the screen right now as well. If you're traveling with the use of Interrail or Eurail, you can do this as well, but a reservation is obligated, and this works easiest via the website of LTG Link. This basically all speaks for itself. You need to give him your Interrail number, and then you can make the reservation. For the train from the last station in Lithuania to Poland, a reservation is obligated. Keep in mind that they won't sell more tickets as there are seats available. Literally half of the seats is being sold through the Lithuanian Railway, so LTG Link, and the other half via the Polish state-owned railway companies, what is PKP Intercity. So if it seems like a train has been fully booked, then just try the other website. You can only book second class tickets if you book a through ticket, so from Vilnius to Warsaw or Vilnius to Krakow, or basically from Poland to Lithuania or the other way around. However, there are some tricks how you can still travel on first class on board of these trains. And you can book first class tickets if you book a ticket via the LTG Link from Vilnius to the last station in Lithuania, what is Moscava. And from there, via the Polish state-owned railway company PKP Intercity, you can book a first class ticket to Warsaw or anywhere else in Poland. And if that doesn't work, then just book from the first station in Poland, what is written on the screen over here. I was traveling with the use of Interrail, and at the moment I wanted to add this train in my schedule for the times for the Interrail. I could only find the schedule from the first station in Poland. I added the rest of the route manually in my Rail Planner app. We left the train at Warsaw Central Station. The train makes some more stops in Warsaw, and it's continuing its way to Krakow in the south of Poland. So welcome to Warsaw Central Station. I forgot to do the outro when we arrived here. I hope you liked this video, or this has been a helpful video to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up, I really appreciate that. If you have some questions, feedback, comments, let me know in the comment section. If you'd like to see more trip reports of more sustainable ways of transportation, the main focus for this channel is once again long distance and or international traveling. Well, this train is definitely both. Then hit that subscribe button if you haven't done this already. Before we really end up this video, one last thing. If you're interested in other videos, of course you can find them on this channel, and if you subscribe you see new videos coming up. Apart from that, in the description of this video you find a link to a map where you can find all videos as well. And the example you see right here is not updated yet. You can also find me on the socials, Blue Sky and Instagram. See you on the next video.